Hello, I'm Ibrahim Imam, and welcome to this episode of the Neurology Lounge podcast, in which we will continue our discussion on CJD. Today, I'll be discussing the patient perspective of CJD with Barbara Ludwig, who narrated her experience of witnessing and caring for her husband, Jürgen, who suffered with this illness. She published this in her book titled No Time to Cry, A Real Story. That was in 2021. Just a quick background of Barbara. She grew up in the western part of Berlin, and she met Jürgen during her training in local government. They went to Australia together after their wedding, and then to Lake Constance in the south of Germany near the border with Switzerland. She worked at the university there whilst Jürgen studied, and then they moved to Munich, where she worked for many years at the Goethe Institute as head of human resources. Today, she writes Mallorca crime novels with passion, and she has been living for about 5 years with her new partner, Bad Orb, in the Spessart near Frankfurt. Barbara Ludwig, thank you very much for accepting my invitation to participate in this podcast.
I thank you for your invitation.
Thank
It's
you.
very nice. Makes me proud that you have studied my book in such detail. Thank you.
Very much. And you're very proud. You said you will have to brush up your English, which you haven't
Yes.
practiced for some time, but I think it's good enough. We don't need
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay. So I'll start with the first question, which is, why did you write the book?
I wanted to understand why Jürgen had to suffer from this insidious illness. During his illness, I didn't have time to think about it. And I wanted to help other people in similar situations. And I had the chance to help a lot of people, not so many, but from time to time. And so I hope I can help a little bit.
And how did you go about writing it? Did you write diaries, or did you just sit down and just put everything down?
I wrote diaries, yes, in this time because it helped. The main character was Jürgen, not I. I wrote it from his role, so I put myself in his shoes and wrote it from his perspective. My perspective was added later at the request of the publisher.
Yeah.
Because I learned to write in this time. I wrote a lot of short stories, and I go to circles where I can learn writing, and so it was very good for me afterwards, after the death of my husband, to do this.
Okay. So yeah, I can understand now how Jürgen was speaking in the book. It's you are
Yes.
in his perspective. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that was very good. It was as if he was the one speaking actually, which is very,
Yes, it was easier to understand him.
yeah.
I wanted to understand how he felt in this time.
Yeah.
And so it was very good for me to to write it in this perspective, yes.
It's unique. I don't think many people do it, and you did it very well. It really captured it from his perspective.
I thought I have to write it in this way.
It worked very well. It was very interesting because as his illness got worse, it was important to see this the way you
Yeah.
saw it and the way he saw it. Why did you choose the title No Time to Cry?
In German, they say time is too good to cry, which means it is too valuable to waste.
Okay.
And the publisher wants a different title, but I pushed pushed through to this day, to this. Um, it was a hard work because they said you have to give another title than we wanted. And this title started with with me. And I said, no, it's not my story. It's the story of my husband and of Jürgen.
Yeah.
And I don't want a title with I. And so they said, okay, try over a night. You have until tomorrow. And if this title is good for us and we will then we will take it. And so it was.
You stuck to it, which is very important, I suppose. So going back to Jürgen, his illness started when he was 53 years old. And the
Yes.
first thing he had was difficulty typing and then problems with his vision. Did he mention this to you at the time, or was it later that he told you about that?
No, not at the first time. I think he somehow compensated for his discomfort.
And then he developed dizziness, tiredness, and then increased sensitivity in his legs. I suspect at this time you knew something was going on. What did you think of,
No,
even at that time?
no, not at all.
He
Not
was,
at all. But we are my husband too. We read a lot of books, and so I got books and books and books, and we read about all things.
yeah.
And then we visited the doctors, this doctor, and hope there would be a cure for these problems. You hope you have an illness and
Yeah.
you go to the doctor and they said, okay, take these pills or make this, live healthier, make more movement or such things. And then you are again the same as before. But in this time, no.
So I think the first symptom you noticed and he was noticed was his difficulty walking,
Yes.
walking from side to side like a sailor, which you
Mhm.
picked up. But the doctors did not find anything when they examined him. They
Mhm.
this time
No.
was normal. Were you surprised because you could see something was wrong?
It was more of an observation, and then we looked for the exact term to describe this dizziness and unsteady gait to the doctors.
And then later, with this gait ataxia, his legs became stiff, reflexes increased, he became clumsy. And then the
Yeah.
doctors first thought maybe he had multiple sclerosis.
Yes,
Did,
yes,
did you know
yes.
much about multiple sclerosis then? Or
Yes, yes, we read up on books and we didn't know much about MS,
yes.
MS you said in German. Luckily, the doctor soon told us that he had ruled out this disease because Jürgen was already too old. It's an illness until the age of 50, I think there's a
Usually.
yes, so we were happy.
And all the tests for MS were no.
Yeah.
And they thought maybe he was having anxiety. And did you think it was anxiety?
We clung to any explanation. However, I saw that his walking was getting worse and worse. There was no end of
No,
it.
just
It
getting worse.
became wronger, and so
Yeah.
you could see it, but you have no explanation for it.
And even the
No,
doctors didn't have any explanation.
no,
They thought
they
about
didn't.
they thought about CJD, and then they did the spinal fluid test, which was normal, wasn't it? It's the first spinal.
Mm, yes, but I wasn't aware of the illness.
Okay.
However, BSE was rampant in cattle at the time,
Okay.
and the headlines were full of it.
Okay.
But I would never have seen a connection.
Hmm.
Later, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, when his movement was worse,
Hmm.
so slowly I discovered a connection. Yes.
Yeah. But at the time when they tested it, they didn't tell you, they thought.
No, no.
And then an interesting symptom you wrote about was he was getting confused with directions in familiar places. You wrote, which is very interesting. You say every time we drive out of the garage, he asks whether he has to turn right or left into the street. Jürgen can no longer orient himself.
Yes.
What did you think was causing this at the time? Did you think it was illness or
I
he?
had
Hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah,
No. But I knew something was going very, very wrong. You could see it.
yeah. And then I think he became paranoid, jealous, and aggressive towards you and other people. You said Jürgen was changing. He is developing into a malicious person. How did that affect you, seeing this change from somebody who is so loving to now becoming very aggressive?
Yeah, yes, the aggressive phase was worst because I couldn't explain this behavior at the time. It was very tiring. Two, I had still my job, which wasn't easy either. A nice neighbor said at the time, sick people can be very difficult. I tried to persuade him to have an examination at a diagnostic center in Heidelberg. There's a very famous, but he refused everything in this time. Later, now, I understood his motives. He was afraid. He knew that he could no longer move properly, could no longer think properly. He was helpless. But in this time, I didn't understand it. So I pushed him, but it was
Yeah,
not very easy. It
yeah.
was a hard time.
Yes, you did say that this condition was damn hard for me to live with. My
Yes,
soul
that's
suffered
right.
and exhausted. How much
It's
did
very hard.
yeah, how much did it drain you emotionally and physically? How much did it
Uh,
you at that stage?
Very hard, very hard, very hard. But there was not so much time. It was you had to manage every day,
Yeah.
and so you don't have too much time to think of.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so you come back from work and then you're kind of going
Hmm.
straight into dealing.
Yeah.
And then he became unable to look after himself completely. And then he was having terrible nightmares. Did you say he was punching you during sleep as well with these nightmares?
Yes, he suffered from nightmares and was afraid.
Yeah.
Something I didn't recognize about him. It was terrifying, and I felt sorry for him. I only understood that he was scared.
Hmm.
We saw a film. We saw a film, um, and it was science fiction.
Okay.
And we saw a lot of films when we were young. And this one, he lived with, and he went on a corner of the room and said no, 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 and so we couldn't see longer this kind of films, horror films or science fiction or crime. No, he was scared. It was horrible. Yes.
And then his memory started playing up. And one example you gave was he kept thinking that your cat, which has dead for quite some years, he thought the cat was still alive. Was he hallucinating? Was he imagining the cat?
That was the time that I discovered that he lived in a different present.
Ah.
He lost more and more of the memories, and he lived in another time.
Oh.
It was spooky, but and he had with the doctor he had an exam, and I was with him, and then I discovered it because he told about another time. He told it very fluently and so in this time, but it was not the reality. It was 15 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes. And in this time I discovered this. I take a role. It's okay. Don't be afraid or so. And then it works. It
Yeah.
was not the best. It was a good way, a good way to handle with this illness. I think
To take him
I
back to
take.
the time he's in.
Yes, not to say, oh no, no, that's not right. You
Yeah.
are not right, and to squirrel. So you better you say, okay, it's okay,
Mm.
and so
That calmed him down.
yeah,
And then he sadly entered the terminal stages and was admitted to hospital. At that
yes.
you said he doesn't know anything about anything. And then that was when I think the doctors again thought of CJD, and that's when he was given the diagnosis.
Yes, I was very glad that he came in this hospital, in this part of hospital. Before they said it's not an illness, it's in your mind,
Yes.
the doctors. And in this time he came to another part of hospital. I was lucky because the doctor was searching for the illness, and they discovered that it is this unhappy illness. Yes.
You started reading at that time. You said you started reading again about CJD.
Yeah.
That, how much did that depress you, knowing that it was a fatal disease?
Yes. Honest, it is a mean and insidious disease. Yes, it is really. And through reading, still, I hope to find a way out, but there's no way out. And I had to realize this, and this was very hard. But there was no time. They say he had 6 months,
Yes.
but yes. So I said, okay. I only tried every day. I got a wheelchair. Then I got this for a car, something to that he could move. Other later he couldn't. But so I got things to help him and to help us. And I'm always in movement to take something to live
Yes.
with this, and it was running and running and running.
Yeah, I can understand why there was no time to cry. There was no time to
Yeah,
feel him.
yeah,
And then he was transferred to a nursing home.
yes. He was he came from the hospital to a place where they take care of him.
Yes.
What was a good idea. I tried to take care of him at home, but he had to take 4 people around the hours, and so there was one man, and he said to me, "Okay, take him. It's better for you and for him," and it was. And then we had a small time, and it was not so bad. They had to sit him on the wheelchair, and I took him to a beer garden nearby and to a restaurant, and his mother came. And then I thought I had 6 months left, so I tried. But then was only 1 month, and he had this temperature. Yes, the disease attacked his temperature center, and he had high fever, and then you could see death. Yes, then this what I have described. He was suddenly an old man.
Within 1 month. That's very, very
Yeah,
rapid.
yes, that's very, very, very fast. Can you see this?
Yes, I can. Yes,
This he was.
that's
He
him.
was a nice man, yes. And then he was ill in this time.
Okay, that's a bit when he's a bit
The
old.
first month, you see a bit,
Bit of
I
gray.
know, John, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it must be painful to remember. How was he? Was there any pain at the end? Did he suffer?
No, it comes, no, he had not. The pain was before, when he had pain in the legs, and it's very hard because the brain is responsible for all things. That I know now.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the CJD goes for. It just goes for the brain.
Yeah.
And then they confirmed the diagnosis after death. That was in 1999.
Yeah.
Did you find that this was helpful for you to know for sure that this was what he had?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And it was confirmed to be the sporadic form.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
during.
Yeah, that's helped too.
Yes.
Okay, I have no children, we have no children, but I think that's a problem for this illness. If you have children and you know it's another form, it's very hard for the families and to know this, or it's better to know. Some people want to know, have I this illness,
Yes.
or can I get it? And others said, no, I don't want to
No,
know it.
that's true.
I think it's a problem because I was several years in the initiative of the families in Göttingen,
Okay.
which suffered from CJD, and this is a very great problem for the kids
Yeah.
of people who died from this illness.
Yeah, the genetic forms. Luckily, that is
Yeah,
less
yeah,
common. That is less common.
yeah, yes.
And then after he died, you said you struggled to decide how to remember him after his death. And your immediate memories were different from the ones later on. Tell me about that.
Yes, now I remember him as a man I loved, and with whom I had many exciting adventures. We had a lot of travels and such things, and whom I still admire for his courage. And I'm also grateful because I learned a lot from him. And now I write, and he was lucky to have a woman like me at his side. I think so.
Yes, yes. And
Yes, 25 years have passed, and I have been given a second life. Have a new partner, and I'm writing. But Jürgen is a part of my life because we knew each other when we were 16.
still,
Fortunately, my new partner respects this, that he is a part of my life. And yes, when I experience something beautiful, I often regret that Jürgen can no longer do it.
um,
Yes, I regret this. Yes, I am alive. I have a new life. I can make a lot of things, but
yes.
he can't anymore. That's sad.
Well, you have documented his life, which really is a lot of lesson for people.
Yeah.
There are not many narratives about CJD, so yours, I think it's very important, and I'm hoping that more people will read about it. So he's still here in the hearts of many more people. And yeah,
Thank you.
came across very
Yes.
powerfully in the book. Um, so what I know you mentioned the kind of reasons why you wrote the book. Are there any other lessons you want readers to take away from reading your book?
Yes. Yes. Don't waste time. Don't waste time. Enjoy your life and see every day as a happy day. And tackling difficulties in life courageously.
Hmm.
They make you grow
Yeah,
and you get to know yourself better.
that's true.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I find out.
very,
Yes.
very powerful lessons for living life, isn't it?
Yes.
Things
Yes.
can come out from nowhere and change.
Yes.
Okay. You've done a lot of reading around CJD. Are there any big questions you think scientists haven't answered about it? Any, or you want scientists to kind of look into?
I hope they will find a solution for this illness. They they have something, they tried something. I heard from this woman, I'm connected with a sister, but it didn't work with her sister. So I don't know. I hope they will have a solution for the people who
Mm.
suffered from.
Yeah, something. Yeah, medicine needs to come up with something for this disease.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. You've talked a bit about your fiction books. Are they, I know you write about it with the passion. I'm not a fiction fan myself.
No,
Um,
no, I don't write fiction.
okay.
No, I write crime.
Okay.
A little bit like cozy crime, a thing
Okay.
between love story and crime.
Okay.
And for reading in your holiday.
Okay.
If you make holiday on Mallorca, you
Yes.
can read my books,
Okay.
and you find still some points where you can go and such things. And yes, it's a pleasure. And my last one is I wrote a book. This was my last one.
Yes.
It's for women,
Okay.
and it's about internet love scamming.
Okay. Okay.
It's after a true story too, because there are a lot um, shame in this, and the women pay a lot of money. For men, it's the same story, but I wrote it for one woman who was Opfer, the victim of this internet prince.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's confidence tricksters.
Yes, yes.
And are they also translated into English or?
No,
Okay.
I haven't. But I'm a bit. I wrote one. Novel about the Oktoberfest
Okay.
and Ludwig, King Ludwig the Second,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Bavarian king, the famous Bavarian king. And I think this is one because most of the American loves this theme, and maybe I translated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easier now than before.
Yeah.
Uh, when I wrote the book about this illness, I spoke with my publisher
Yes.
and said it would be nice to be translated because there were a lot of people in the States. I
Yes.
was in Washington with there was a meeting with people who suffered or came together,
Okay.
and in the States and two in Canadian. There were a lot more than in German in this time. But they said it's too expensive and there are not enough reader and so
Mhm.
so it was.
Well, this was a very good translation. And I think they captured
Yes. Oh,
I'm sure they captured what you wrote, the storytelling.
oh, that's very nice to hear because I have no um, reaction of it.
Yeah.
For the German, yes,
Abs-
it's still um, in a good Bewertung. Oh God. It's still you can still
Still in
oh God, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah, it's
still
okay.
in print.
Yes,
Okay.
but I had I make it with a program.
Okay.
I translated, and
Okay.
then I gave it to a woman,
Okay.
a Canadian woman,
Yes.
and he makes the whole English
Okay.
for. I
Okay.
hope it, and if you say it's good,
No, it is.
I'm satisfied.
And
I'm
that's,
happy.
yeah. The story is good. The translation was good. The
Yeah.
storytelling was unique. Uh,
Yes,
it's not
yes,
the usual way. The way you took the perspective of Jürgen, that.
yeah,
Okay. Are there
okay.
any other books you would like to recommend to people?
Yes, I have. Also erstmal muss ich ja meins noch mal hochhalten, ne?
Okay.
Yes, I recently haven't read any books about it in the last time, but now I have one. It's in German. Gute Nacht, Liebster. Good night, love. It's about
Right
dementia.
here.
Yes, and the man is also in the middle of the 50s,
Okay.
and it's a very yes, I have mir ein bisschen aufgeschrieben, geguckt. It's very touching and reminded me strongly of my experience. This one, yes, it's this one.
Okay.
And then I had one, but I haven't read it in this time. It's yes, there are not so many, not so many. There are a lot of books
Yes.
with dementia, with Alzheimer's,
Yes. Yes.
and Yes, and this is one point today, 20 years away from this, or 25 years past. If my husband had suffered from Alzheimer's,
Yes.
and we had, I think, 15 or 20 years together with a person who knows me anymore,
Yes.
or he lived in a nursery, like a nursery home,
Yes.
uh, it would be harder, I think, today.
Yeah, if it's drugs
Yeah,
on, drugs on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because so I am thankful because I have a new life
Mm.
now, and so
Yeah, it will.
yes, that's one point you have to think over, I
That's
think.
one point. Though
Yeah,
things like Alzheimer's, because it goes very slowly, you
yeah, yeah, yeah,
terminal stage. Yeah, yeah, it's
yes,
an interesting perspective.
yeah.
Okay. Barbara Ludwig, thank you very much for participating in this episode of the Neurology Lounge podcast. I'm most grateful, and thank you for being brave to go through it without any interpreter. I think it's come through very well. And to my audience, thank you very much for listening or viewing the podcast. If you found it enlightening, you've read, and after reading Barbara's book, you might consider reading my own book called Surfing the Brain.
Oh,
For
okay.
more academic parts of neurology, I have a website called Neuro Checklist. And to make sure you don't miss the next episode of the podcast, why not subscribe to the iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube channels? But until the next episode, thank you very much for your time. And Barbara, thank you very much. I'm most grateful for your insight. Thank,
Yes, I thank you
thank
for
you.
your invitation, and I hope you will be fine
Thank you.
with your podcast.
Yes, thank you. I'm hoping it. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, thank you.